To commemorate the 40th anniversary of Alien, Fox and Tongol held a contest for filmmakers to pitch short films set within the Alien universe, with 6 winners moving into production. These shorts take place chronologically after the events of Alien, and the filmmakers were encouraged to specifically tonally reflect the first film. Which makes sense, seeing as how these shorts are meant to be part of a celebration of the original film's now 40-year legacy. There weren't too many restrictions when it came to telling these stories, but the idea was for them to be wholly original, with their own original characters and settings. So no using already established characters like Ripley or Ash, or having it take place on the Nostromo or anything like that. And from the get-go, it was also encouraged that the target audience is 17+, so that meant gore, keeping it basically an R-rated short film. That guideline was very much appreciated, and it was definitely put to good use in these shorts. Another item on the checklist for submissions was to include a xenomorph, at least one xenomorph appearance, in any of its forms, whether it be facehugger, chestburster, full-grown xenomorph, and we get a good variety from all of that from the shorts, and they're all utilized in different ways to tell the stories. The required length was between 5 to 9 minutes, and they all hit about that mark. And there was one guideline for the submissions that really stood out and was pretty specific. Their guideline was to introduce original character or characters based in the archetype of the underdog, the everyday working men and women that grounded the film in realism and relatability. That was an interesting detail that they asked for, and I think you can see it as sort of a theme underlying in the collection of shorts as a whole, but also individually, some definitely more than others, so that was an interesting thing to keep in mind when watching these. Lucky fans were able to attend screenings of these short films at Emerald City Comic Con, and beginning in April they were released on YouTube periodically through IGN's channel, with the final 2 short films being released on Alien Day, April 26. Today I wanted to talk about the short films, offer some thoughts on each of them, and maybe some of the ones I preferred or thought did certain things the best. But I enjoyed them all. Each have their own strengths and things that I thought were very creative, and on the whole I'm really impressed, and as a fan, really appreciated seeing different angles on the telling of an alien story through different creative visions. But before I go into more detail, I should give a spoiler warning. I'll be pretty much giving everything away, so if you haven't seen the shorts, definitely check them out first. They're all on the IGN channel, so I'll leave a link for that below. Also, heads up, if you happen to get the new Alien 4K Blu-ray and redeem the code on iTunes, the shorts are actually part of the iTunes Extras, which is pretty cool. There's even a play all option, which I personally think is the best way to watch them, almost like an anthology film, and with the 6 shorts combined, the runtime is just a little bit over an hour, so it's pretty close to having that effect. The first of the shorts is Alien Containment, directed by Chris Redding. This story follows survivors of the colonial transfer vehicle Borrowdale on an escape pod having evacuated an apparent xenomorph infestation. The survivors are Ward, Ness, and Albrecht, also sharing the escape pod with an unnamed, unconscious man. The paranoia and tension rises quickly within the group as they begin to suspect someone may be carrying one of the terrifying alien parasites. As a short, the story has to set up this mystery and conflict and have it escalate very quickly, which I think it does effectively. Also taking advantage of elements we've seen associated with the xenomorph embryo implantation process previously, namely the fact that due to the paralyzing substances emitted by the facehugger when it attacks its prey, the host has no memory of being implanted, so it could be any or all of these characters. There's definitely payoff. We get a chestburster make an appearance, though the chestbursting isn't done in too much of an over-the-top kind of way. Instead, it leads us, the audience, to fill in the gaps in our imagination. That's not to say it lacks gore, because there's plenty of it, but the actual emerging creature is kept to an absolute minimum. It's more about the character's reaction to it. Also worth noting is that the victim, Ness, is seen twitching his arms in a similar way to Kane after the alien bursts out of him, so it's a good, morbid nod to the original 1979 film. Ward is left alone in the pod, frantically coming up with a warning to those picking up the vessel, writing "Do not open" on the doors in blood, and your guess is as good as mine if it was all in vain or not. I really liked this one. I thought the production value was great. It brought the necessary fear and tension to the story, keeping it boiling until it reaches this fever dream-like pitch and reaches its ending, where the character makes a desperate final attempt to save the world from the horror they've witnessed. The acting all around was great, and I think Gaia Weiss, in particular, playing Ward, was really good and had very intense facial expressions that conveyed the horror and confusion of this character's situation, being within the confines of a short without having loads and loads of dialogue to explain it all. But sometimes less is more, and the expressions say it all. I think it was a good decision that this was the first of the shorts that they released to the world because, while it's not heavy on the creature feature elements of things, it definitely plays on the horror strongly, and if you're watching these all in one sitting, I think it sets the right mood, and it's really able to establish what these shorts are capable of, and the talent behind them. The next short, Alien Specimen, directed by Kelsey Taylor, is set on planet LV-492, Greenhouse 211, an operation we come to realize has some WEYLAND-YUTANI backing and vested interests. It follows a botanist, Julie, with the aid of her trusty dog, Maggie, and a suspicious soil sample that is revealed to contain a facehugger. As the greenhouse goes into lockdown, the lights go out, and Maggie grows more and more alert. Julie becomes all the more fearful of what may be stalking in the dark corners of the greenhouse other than her and her dog. It's a simple concept, but tried and true, playing on the fear of being alone with the shadows and the dangers that lurk within. I think it does a really good job of creating these tense moments, and the setting of the greenhouse worked really well in specifically using the facehugger creature for what is basically the antagonist of the story. There's a lot of visual trickery going on that makes you think you saw something, but maybe didn't, and do a double take, only to think maybe it's just your imagination, so we're able to get into the character's mindset and sense of fear pretty successfully. The big reveal of this short, and the sort of twist that actually makes sense and is under our noses the whole time considering some of the dialogue at the beginning, is that Maggie is in fact an android dog. Which is actually a cool surprise and something we haven't seen before, so I like that angle. I guess, of course, Maggie did not have any Special Order 937-like protocols because the dog is a hero, tearing up the facehugger and unfortunately dying, or whatever the robot equivalent of dying is, in the process. So if you're a dog lover, maybe avoid this one. Or not, it's a robot. Plus she goes down as a hero and defeats the facehugger, though Julie delivers the final blow to the creature, ensuring it doesn't find a host. Either way, major kudos to Maggie for saving the day. I'm sure Spike from Alien 3 is looking down from doggy heaven somewhere, smiling. This short was very well done. I liked the twist with the dog. I thought it delivered some tense moments, all with also really great production value for a low-budget short, and an especially good use of lighting. We also get to see the facehugger close up, and the effects are pretty well done. I think it's good and scary to not quite see what's in the dark, for the scenes to be effective, but for this story, I think we needed that payoff of finally seeing the creature and getting a good look at it, so it definitely delivers on that respect. Alien Night Shift, directed by Aidan Michael Brezenik, is the next short from the collection. This story is set on the High Lonesome mining colony of the LV-422 district. It opens on a great shot that visually conveys what we need to know for the setup. There are two space truckers making a stop at this colony. One is passed out in the alley, believed to be hungover, but as we see in the frame, there's a dead body of a facehugger, and we know this guy is carrying an alien embryo. Night Shift isn't all about the creature stuff, though. In fact, this might be the most character-focused of the collection. This one really plays into the working stiff theme, with colony supply workers just living out a normal workday, having the kind of conversations they'd probably usually have any other day doing their usual work, but being interrupted by the space truckers right as they're about to close, and unknowingly letting in a xenomorph carrier. There's the shocking chestburster scene, and it's pretty good. The victim is writhing in agony, his mouth is foaming, and we see the bulging through his chest. And for this short, we do get a good look at the actual chestburster. It's a good effect, though brief, and true to the required tone, we don't see too much after that, and the pursuing creature is off-screen for the remainder of the short. Personally, I would have liked to see a little bit more and see how the situation plays out, but it ends a little abruptly. I think the final moments of the short are really driven home by the actress, Amber Gastone, who, much like Gaia Weiss of the first short, really sells the situation by conveying the pure dread and terror through her facial expressions. So with her acting and with the visual of closing in on her fear, I think it makes it a believable and scary situation that's taking place. I've heard from a good many reactions to the shorts that this might be the weak link of the six, and I'd probably agree with that, but I still found it to be engaging, and I think it delivered the scares that make this collection so appealing. When it comes to the reactions I've seen toward these shorts, it actually seems though that the standout favorite might actually be Alien Ore, directed by Kaylee and Sam Spear. Once again, this builds its story through the working class angle, staying with it pretty faithfully and making it a key theme to the short. It takes place on the commercial mining colony Bowen's Landing, whose primary export is platinum ore, and follows the miners as they discover a potential xenomorph infestation. and they quickly realize they must take any means necessary to prevent an outbreak to the surface. A company worker, Hanks, also accompanied by a dog, though unconfirmed if artificial, has other plans, as orders from the company make it very obvious what their intentions are. I think this one best reflects the world of the first Alien. I love the use of the technology that has an unmistakable alien feel to it, and alien isolation feel, with the retro-style tech that, of course, would be completely outdated now, but has an aesthetic charm that's hard to take any kind of issue with. On the whole, it fits pretty perfectly with all the familiar elements of Alien. The aesthetic, the working stiffs, the company orders, and standing up in a situation when all else seems dire. It doesn't have the advantages of a full-length feature, so it's all the more impressive how they're able to establish the characters and have you legitimately feel invested in their predicament in such a short time. The special effects are also a big standout. I love the practical effects they used for the xenomorph eggs, eerily lit by the miner's helmet lights, and the finale that gives us a glimpse of a full-grown xenomorph. This is done with CGI, and it's only for a brief second that we actually see the alien, but it works great within the scene, as this standoff between the working-class miners and the mysterious alien threat that gives Orr a very strong closing moment. Alien Alone, directed by Noah Miller, takes a different point of view, with this being the only short seen through the perspective of an android, Hope, aboard the abandoned chemical freighter Otranto. Hope is, as the title suggests, alone on this vessel, going day to day in scenes that are reminiscent of David and Walter from the series, the androids left to themselves as they wait on the crew to awake from hypersleep and keep everything in order in the meantime. Also reminiscent of Ash, in a little nod to Ian Holmes' jogging regimen from the first film, which Ridley Scott has suggested may be usual of androids, keeping their joints moving, making sure everything works and functions properly. So Hope may be doing the same. She has no crew, but in a restricted area of the ship, she seems to be surprised at the fact that there is an organism on board that is alive and in stasis. A xenomorph facehugger, in fact, which captures her fascination. Alone is focused on this unusual friendship, if you can call it that, between android and facehugger, and much like with other artificial persons depicted in the series, she comes to admire the species and wants to personally see to its survival. She's able to do just that when she's able to find a viable host, a salvager who happens upon the Otranto's escape shuttle. Enter a special appearance by James Paxton, son of Bill, who of course played the legendary and iconic Hudson in Aliens. That was cool to see, and yes, he's impregnated by the facehugger and an alien bursts out of his chest, so maybe timeline-wise, this is Hudson's grandpa, who knows, but it was amusing to see, and it was cool that James Paxton was included. I think Alone might actually be the most ambitious of the shorts, story-wise. It's an odd concept to have the focus of the story be the relationship and companionship between a robot and a facehugger, but it's a very fitting one. It shows us the potential of the extended universe and the opportunity to tell stories about these oddities, and I was compelled by Hope's plight. Effects-wise, it's pretty good, but could have been better, though we get some good model work and set design, and we get an appearance by the infamous Dipping Bird, which I appreciated. The facehugger at the center of the story is featured pretty heavily, so unlike something like Specimen, which really only has one focused shot on the creature, this one is front and center, so it's a practical effect, and puppetry is used to bring its performance to life. A good effect, but noticeable. And we also get a good look at the full-grown alien at the very end, also practical effects, also noticeable, and apparently that's James Paxton again, the host, playing the resulting xenomorph, which is kind of interesting. But needless to say, there were budgetary restrictions for these, and I think the story is strong enough, and the acting and character is also strong enough to not have it be a distraction. I think it captures the beauty and mystery of these creatures through the eyes of, I guess, a lonely android extremely well. The final of the shorts is Alien Harvest, directed by Benjamin Howardshell, and what was attention-grabbing about this short is how it pits us almost directly into what feels like the climax of a much larger story. So we catch up with this story in a very fast-paced and urgent way. It takes place on the Comet Plasma Harvester vessel the November on a collision course with a comet, with evacuation procedure underway, and we're thrust into the daring escape of what we can assume are the last survivors of a xenomorph that has been terrorizing the ship. The pace is really good, and it starts out exciting right away. We get some good motion tracker action, keying off micro-changes in air density, no doubt. And we get a take-charge badass female, Mari, played by Agnes Albright. I guess she's supposed to sort of be reminiscent of Ripley, but, spoiler alert, she's actually an android. She's working in favor of WEYLAND YUTANI and leading these survivors to be harvested. Among the survivors is a pregnant woman, which may give some viewers some pause at first, maybe bring back some bad Aliens vs. Predator Requiem memories, but have no fear, there's nothing in bad taste here. Rather, I think it's more of a storytelling tool to show how close the couple in the story is, and how they have a history and a future ahead of them, and there's a lot at stake. So it was a good way of conveying the character relationship within the confines of such a short story. Harvest covers a lot of ground within a short time, so I was impressed with that, all the way to the end, where we're informed the shuttle is going to be picked up by the company probe in about 24 hours, with 2 surviving crew members on board, and 2 unknown organic specimens detected as well. We know, though, by the time the probe engages the shuttle, of course, there won't be 2 surviving crew members, but there will be 2 unknown organic specimens to be picked up. There's good effects and sets in this one. I love the blaring lights through the corridor visual, which is absolutely synonymous with Alien, so that was great to see utilized in this short. And we get to see some good xenomorph attacking. This one is also suit work, as opposed to CGI. Behind the xenomorph costume is Alex Ward, who has played many monsters, including roles in series like Westworld, Sleepy Hollow, Teen Wolf, and American Horror Story. I really liked seeing the practical effects on the screen, and it served as a reminder that the last time we actually saw suit work in anything related to Alien was Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, to bring that wonderful movie up again. But that was 12 years ago. And one of the disappointing things to me about Alien Covenant was that it looked like they were going to do some suit work, but they just couldn't quite pull it off and couldn't quite make it convincing, so they went with CGI. Which, all things considered, I think was ultimately the right call, because maybe we're just too used to seeing suits as the audience, or maybe special effects have just gotten so advanced that it's all noticeable. You can tell it's a guy in a suit, or it's a puppet. These shorts, needless to say, didn't have Ridley Scott money, but considering what they did with the budgets they had, you wonder what they could have done if they did. Either way, I think the next Alien movie we get, and I hope we do get one, will hopefully still find a blend between the CGI and the practical aspects of the special effects. I still think it can be pulled off. I really enjoyed seeing these shorts, and maybe my only complaint really is that we didn't get more. I would have loved to see just maybe 1 or 2 more. I would have liked to see more perspectives from other filmmakers and other Alien-themed stories, but on the whole, I'm satisfied with what we got. Even though I think the best way to watch them is all at once, back to back, it was pretty cool to see throughout the month of April how they were released through social media and ultimately on the IG and YouTube channel. The official Alien accounts would give some good hype for the shorts as they were approaching. They'd share behind-the-scenes stuff, which was great to see, and held a Twitter Q&A with the filmmakers on Alien Day. So I thought the shorts themselves were great, and the way they released them was pretty good too, very unique, and I thought they did a good job with something that was cool for the fans to see. If I had to pick a favorite from the shorts, I'd probably say Or. I thought it was very, very well done, and I also really like Containment, so maybe those would be my top 2 favorites from the bunch. Do you have a favorite from the 6 short films? Which do you think had the best special effects? The best acting? Which one do you think was the scariest? Please comment below, I'd really like to know your opinion. And as always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and you can also subscribe for all latest videos from the channel. A very, very special thanks goes out to WEYLAND YUTANI executives, EmYarUk, and Lady Anne, part of the Patreon Hive. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.